I'm going to be talking today about compassion fatigue and countertransference by Marie Lanier. So, compassion fatigue is a macro, treatable, preventable, generalized countertransference is micro, individual, or homogeneous group. It's triggering. So, compassionate fatigue gets in the way of treating our clients or the people we care about. It's often caused by helping traumatized people, and countertransference is intrinsic to helping the person. It's innate to the worker. Countertransference can be instantaneous. It doesn't have to be doesn't have a hallmark of leading to exhaustion. Compassion fatigue develops over time. It has red flags that eventually lead to exhaustion. It's good to look at our own examples. So, examples of my own countertransference is body shame and unworthiness. When I'm dealing with people who have body shame or unworthiness, it could trigger me. Compassion fatigue is different. It's not in a specific area. It's perhaps just or with specific people. It's just in general over time, too much compassion giving and tired. And compassion fatigue could look like anxiety, depression, forgetfulness, higher kinds of sickness, negative morale, which is not being at the place of work or ability to help, burnout, lower productivity, lower satisfaction from the clients, financial impact, turnover. And it can actually hurt people to practice while we're fatigued. Countertransference is projecting unresolved issues. For work, therapeutically, is transference. But countertransference is reacting to being in that role. Freud first said countertransference was unhealthy and should be removed, but eventually therapeutic communities said it's normal, it's human, it can be explored. Type 1 is triggered by the therapist's own unresolved stuff. Type 2 is triggered by the client creating or eliciting their go-to dynamic, putting the others in the role they need, behaving in everyday life, their interactions, where number 2 leads to seeing and feeling important information by relating to them, which can help the client. It's important to note that it's a mishmash of relating together like all human subconscious stuff is, and of witnessing the self as judging good or bad clients. So we can avoid these, topics or materials, certain ones. Remember we have tools, but before that, we could have trouble writing notes, recalling the session. We could feel confused when the client acts or behaves differently than we conceptualize them. We can find ourselves over/under involved, over/under working. We can be irritable or anxious, anger, sadness. That's common. Not seeing the reality, misperceiving, can even misdiagnose. And some tools are mindfulness or presence focus, observer mind, apologizing for mistakes, replacing judgment with curiosity, and having humility to be objective. Anxiety reducers is things like belly breathing, meditating, visualization, reminders in the space, and utilizing supervision could be helpful because someone that knows the countertransference can be beneficial and is able to give more feedback than mere words. So checking in it's called checking in when we do reflective listening. It's a therapeutic use of ourself, our wisdom, our emotions, our awareness, creating a therapeutic alliance. We have to nullify our own ego. We can't walk through the water without getting wet, right? And empathy is cognitive, experience and perspective is maintained versus emotional, which is the feelings themselves. When feeling compassion fatigue, the self needs more compassion, however it is, or, for sustainability. But a lack of known leadership in crisis, for example, a supervisor who is overcritical, low self-efficacy beliefs, these are all risks for compassion fatigue, as is working in longer hours, trauma survivors, history of trauma, financial insecurity or other personal issues, length of experience, clear expectations of institution, lack of autonomy, unsatisfaction or lack of recognition, isolation, sense of unfairness in the work environment, mismatch in values with worker and company, inexperienced colleagues. And when we have positive feelings from helping and contributing and being of service, we can recognize those are healthy ways of giving ourselves compassion in order to be able to give anyone else compassion. I'm going to share a little bit more. This is called Being a Helper. It's from the Manhattan Meditation Center, Brahma Kumaris. Her name is Susan. So she says, if the sun or the moon should ever doubt, they would immediately go out. Being a star is to not be afraid of the surrounding darkness, shining our light into the dark instead, being the light. Always practicing virtues and optimism, and seeing people who forget their love still with love. Spiritual currency has the power that it grows when you spend it. Increasing light in others doesn't lessen our own light. It grows light. The negativities we have in us aren't our truth, and fully feeling them shows that we're not that, just been holding it. Then it goes. The beautiful energy will help us even in death, and it'll help us to let go in death at our last breath. So again, the negativities that we have in us that aren't our truth, when we fully feel them, it shows we're not that, just been holding it in. And then it goes, and that beautiful energy, even through death, we can now use our predictive powers to visualize the best case scenario, because we're not as attached to the fear of death. People can blossom, flourish in our presence if we love and adore ourselves, and we're not shame-based. We could be a magnet for all that's good as eternal souls that are everlasting. Meditation allows us to experience our beautiful, divine, sparkling, glorious nature. We are light and we spread light. And contentment with being a divine helper, where our number one job is to be that light in the atmosphere and spread that light, shining and pure as a conduit of the rays and the waves, like an instrument. And saying a story now of all the good and love and abundance and supreme and peace and humanity and unity. Enjoy. Good night.